teams for cats years after the epitaph was written on him. It's far from done. I think Brian Hoyer ends up in Houston, and it could end up in a good situation for himself, and it all could work out well for everybody. That has nothing to do with it. Right now, this Brian Hoyer, his confidence, that's the key to a quarterback. That's what made everything else not matter with Brian Hoyer before. And the point is the confidence. And I don't know about the other team. I will say this: they got the locker room hasn't broken around him. Absolutely hasn't broken around him. But has he broken around himself? I think he has. We talked about it last week, and I said, man, if there's a week, forget number 2, forget backup quarterback. I'm talking about Brian Hoyer. This weekend I thought, man, he's going to go out here, and whatever it is that he's got left in the tank, he's going to lay it out there. And I don't go as far as anybody else. I don't blame the loss the other day on him. He cost points. Absolutely, plain and simple. He was as much a part of the problem as anybody else, and that's the problem. That's the problem as well. Problem is that I don't know who coming up is going to do any better. I just think that the Browns may find themselves there. But either way, I just don't know. Now I'm going to say this. I got to back this up with the flip side of it. Here's the one reason that he can stand in front of you tomorrow and tell you, he being Mike Pettin, that Brian Hoyer is still going to be your quarterback. And my gut is telling me that it's going to be Johnny. But he can say, just a month ago, Brian Hoyer beat the Bengals. He also beat them last year. He's beat them the last 2 times he played them. Now, then again, is he the same? Now, I can counter with this. Is he the same Brian Hoyer that beat them a month ago? If the answer to that is no, then that doesn't matter. But if you believe in that, if you believe that guys are successful against certain teams, if you believe that that should matter, then that's the one place, and the one place that I'm just saying, that's how he stands in front of you tomorrow. Because people say, J-Rock, well, if it's going to be Hoyer, how can he stand in front of you tomorrow and say it? That's how. Other than that, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing else to hang your hat on at this point. And like I said, I'm not even talking about number 2. This isn't about that part of the conversation. This is simply about Brian Hoyer and his confidence. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter what you think he is. His confidence is shot, and that's a problem. I mean, he broke under the pressure. Regardless, it doesn't matter. The pressure of this whole situation affected him very, very much. And if it's going to affect you here, it will affect you later. Questions have been answered. Guys, questions have been answered no matter what. So let's see what happens, and we'll see tomorrow when the decision comes out. I want to talk to Dr. Football a little bit later on in the show, looking at you guys and talking about your comments here. Let me pull this up here. I've got a random selection here of 50 comments from you guys that I grabbed off of our Facebook page from just the last 18 hours or so about Brian Hoyer, Johnny Manziel. Is it time? Are we ready to give Johnny Manziel the keys to the car for the remainder of this season? Let's just roll through. John Siebert says yes. Brian Kessinger says it's time to see what Manziel's got to offer by being on the field. Billy Masters, yes. What do we have to lose? Let's see what he's got. Warren Barnes says, well, somebody should be a starter. There's a good point right there, because if you don't have any, you know what the answer is. Warren Smith says, why not? We've had 20-plus quarterbacks. What's one more? That's why we will never be a winning team. We give up way too early, then it comes back to bite us. Just remember, the missed field goal would have given us the win if you're a Hoyer fan thinking out loud. Scott Bentley says, yes, it's indeed time. Aaron Chamarsky says, what do we have to lose at this point? Give the kid a chance to gain some experience. Kevin Kessick says, yes, it's time. Here's Johnny. Anthony Monhart doesn't just say no. He uses a little bit of colorful language. I can't say that on the radio. Scrolling through, you get a lot of that here. Jamie Chambers says, start the kid. Hoyer's killing us. Anthony says, go Browns. Yes. Aaron, yes. James, we've got several, obviously, a ton of different opinions. Some of the longer ones here. Drew Breezy says, I've got a feeling that's not your back. Hopefully Johnny can get us to the playoffs. He's a rookie. Even if he doesn't, he's the future of the organization. So what? Tanya says, put him in. It can't hurt now. Kevin, Brian, both say yes. Bruce Wood, my man from the chat room, says next year the Browns will have not one but two new quarterbacks, trade, free agent, or draft. They obviously trust neither quarterback that they have now. Barb says, yes, we need to see how he's going to do. Actual game situations, it's not like we're going to the playoffs. Ellen says, what do we have to lose? He deserves a chance. Billy Groom says, no, he should not play at all. Leave Hoyer in. Yes, no. This is so split, talking about the delineation. It's amazing here. Dan the Man Mirror says, at least Manziel won't throw one touchdown and 8 picks in the next 3 games. That immediately makes him better than Hoyer. Jennifer Dunbar says the exact opposite. Says, I think they should stay with who they started with and make the changes in the offseason. Kim Coyne, a good point here as we wrap this up. I've been a fan of keeping Manziel on the bench all season to watch and learn, but I also think at some point he needs to get in there. Although I don't think he has sat long enough and I don't think he's ready, we don't have much choice but to see what happens, put him out there, find out what floats and what sinks. I do have concerns about his offensive line. Respecting him, it was clear Hoyer had the locker room's respect, but something obviously went south with him recently. Richard France says, give the kid a shot. Hoyer's not getting it done. Troy Hess says, after Hoyer gave the game away last week, Johnny gets a chance. If he fails, him, Hoyer, and Gordon can all go get a job at McDonald's. Ow, harsh, man. Harsh. It's a couple of weeks ago. Everybody was buying Roman burgers. Now, him and Johnny got to go to get a job at McDonald's. David Lucas says, why pay for something you don't know if it works? How many people do you know buy a car because of the commercial, get it home, and leave it in the garage? We have to find out what Manziel has. Donnie Pennington right on the other side. No, Manziel's not ready to play. Whatever happened to learning how to be a quarterback? He should have sat the whole year. He won't make it past 8 games before he gets hurt. And the comments just keep coming in, guys. Facebook.com/TheSportsFix. Tweet with us at TheSportsFixCLE. September. Remember September? Brian Hoyer does, that's for sure. Life was a lot better back in September for Brian Hoyer. We're going to talk more about that in an hour or two. Dr. Football, you guys keep the conversation rolling. Meanwhile, shift gears, talk a little Indians baseball as they're getting the trade winds moving, and they're not the only ones. Chicago made a move this morning, grabbing some pitching. Jeff Gorman from Indians101.com joins us next. We'll talk about it. Doug Plagans of the Lake Erie Monsters later on in hour 1. Dr. Football in hour 2, and so much more. We're talking Cavs. Got a whole lot to get into. Do not go anywhere, and do me a favor. Tell somebody else to join the show. Click the share button now as we're in the break. When we come back, we get it rolling on and popping, as they say. Jeff Gorman, Indians101.com. Coming up next here on The Fix.
The Sports Fix, the show that asks the question,
what you talking about, Lou? What you talking about, Lou? What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about, Lou? What you talking about? What you talking about, Lou? What you talking about? What you talking about, Lou?
We'll be right back.
Sports Fix listeners, you've heard me talking about it. Millionaires being made all season long at DraftKings.com, America's favorite one-week fantasy football site. I've been playing there too. It's now J-Rock's favorite one-week fantasy football site. What's one-week fantasy football? That means no season-long commitment. Who's hurt? That's no problem at all because you change everything week to week. Injuries don't derail your chance at victory. It's a new season every week. You're never stuck with the same players. You can pick your team in just minutes and be on your way to winning huge cash. This season, one listener turned $10 into $5,000. Another turned $2 into $10,000. And a new millionaire has been crowned nearly every week this season at DraftKings.com. You could be next. Imagine winning $1 million in one day. $1 million just for playing fantasy football at DraftKings.com. Head to DraftKings.com now and use promo code Spreaker to play for free in the $10 million Fantasy Football World Championships. DraftKings.com. Bigger events, bigger winnings, bigger millionaires. Enter Spreaker now at DraftKings.com.
SportsFix listeners, like us on Facebook today. Facebook.com/The SportsFix. Football season is parted. Everyone wins at Harry Buffalo. Every Saturday is Coors Light College Football Saturday with $6 pitchers, 4 bottles for $10, and the Buckeyes in full HD. Football season is most definitely party season, and your headquarters is Harry Buffalo, North Olmsted, all winter long. Harry Buffalo, join the herd. Have you gotten your copy of Cleveland's Finest yet? Highlighting the best moments, players, and media members in Cleveland sports history?
He won it! Milo hit a three-pointer on the side.
In-depth personal interviews with some of the top names in Cleveland sports fill the pages of this incredible book. Cleveland's Finest by Vince McKee is this year's must-have book for every Cleveland sports fan. Available now at Amazon.com. Get your copy today. Fantasy sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize.
I mean, a really real prize.
Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs. There's literally only one place to go. FantasyJocks.com.
Hello, Cleveland. This is WWE Hall of Famer Mick Foley, and you are listening to the Sports Fix. Yeah.
A little bit since we hit the smooth operator here on the show. By the way, got the volume up. The whole first segment, right? I'm sitting there trying to figure out why, no matter how loud I turn up my headphones, this show won't get any louder. Listen, I do this every day. You guys know I run the ship here behind the scenes. There's nobody to ask questions to. I know the answers to them. I'm going, come on now. It was, I had turned something down internally earlier this morning and didn't turn it back up, but I knew it. I'm like, come on, man. Where did I don't sound like that. I'm booming through the speakers usually in my own headphones. But anyways, so now it's loud. So you may have to turn it down because it may have Mick Foley. Yeah. But welcome back into the Sports Fix. J-Rock back with you. Getting ready. You hear a little smooth operator. Indians trying to be smooth operators this week at the trade winter meetings here. I was going to say trade deadline for a second. Winter meetings here, and they already got a little something going. Brandon Moss, and I'll tell you, some people happier than others about that. I really was about 50-50 in the reaction that we've gotten since the trade came out. A lot of Tribe fans just saying, hey, same old, broken player. Maybe he bounces back. Indians looking off the scrap heap. He's not that far on that end, but he's close. Like, it's in the middle. It's still a risk, a big risk. Let's not forget hip surgery is not exactly the easiest thing to come back from, but it's not total scrap heap either, but it's middle of the road. And I look at that price tag. He's going to make $7 million this year. Mike Brandenburg always says Tribe can't have guys that make $6-7 million a year. You got to have the ones that make nothing and the ones that make everything when you're playing Moneyball. We're going to talk about all of this with Jeff Gorman from Indians101.com in just a moment right here on the hotline. You keep the conversation going. Facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at the SportsFix CLE. And yes, I know some of you hit me up and said, how can you talk about the Browns and not mention Marvin Lewis? Yeah, I know what he did last night. I actually think he knew what he was doing last night too. He was pulling the Browns punk card last night. He said, you know what? Just in case they don't switch the quarterback, I want to add a little bit more juice to that fire. We'll talk about, he called Manziel a midget last night. We'll talk about that in a moment, but we're going to get to the phones right now. Jeff Gorman from Indians101.com with us here. Jeff, my friend, how you doing this afternoon?
Well, I was feeling like a pretty big person, and then that whole midget comment came out, and I looked up and saw that Manziel was 6 feet tall, and that meant that I should probably put on a mask and start running around Mexico with a bunch of other little mask guys, because I'm about 3 inches less than that. So I'm feeling kind of like a micro midget at this point, but otherwise I'm doing great.
I hear you.